Today we're talking about Seychelles company formation with a bank account. Seychelles company formation with a bank account is an incredibly attractive offer if you want privacy, low maintenance fees, cheap registration, and tax efficiency. Well, maybe. But after you start doing some research, you'll probably find that this offer sits in the too good to be true category, and that Seychelles company formation with a bank account might result in more headaches and expenses than you bargained for. Plus, the banking and payment processing options aren't great. So, if you're considering Seychelles company formation with a bank account, definitely stick around for today's video. In it, I'll discuss the common mistakes, misconceptions, and stumbling blocks that you need to be aware of before going down this path. More importantly, I'll also outline your other options and share some of the lesser known and overlooked alternatives that offer the same and sometimes more attractive benefits. Plus, with these alternatives, it's a lot easier to open and keep open bank accounts. But before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get alerted every time we post new non-resident banking opportunities. Now, to help you get started with Seychelles company formation, we have a free non-resident banking starter guide. It's designed to help non-resident and foreigners open bank accounts. So don't forget to download your copy using the link in the description below. Okay, back to business. Let's get into the Seychelles company considerations. While Seychelles offshore companies have typically been used for holding investments, real estate, and other real assets, it wasn't until recently that they've been discovered by digital nomads and location-independent entrepreneurs to support their operating businesses. But here lies the problem. You don't necessarily need a bank account for a holding company. Instead, you may just need to register shares or sign contracts. Now, on the other hand, if you're operating an active trading business, have customers and suppliers, need payment processing, and have monthly financial obligations to meet, you need reliable banking. Now, don't get us wrong, just 5 to 10 years ago, opening a bank account for a Seychelles company in Hong Kong and other banking hubs was a breeze. But today, just finding a bank that will even entertain an application from a Seychelles company is tough. And it's even more difficult if you're in the unlucky passport club, have a new company, and don't have much money to meet high deposit requirements. Next, let's take a look at Seychelles company formation with a bank account. Instead of listing all the reasons why Seychelles company formation with a bank account is a bad idea or worth questioning, let's start by outlining your banking options. Then we'll let you decide for yourself. You see, most offshore companies have a wide range of banking jurisdictions that they can choose from. This is even true for such traditional offshore hubs as BVI, Cayman Islands, Bahamas, and more. But the Seychelles is a little bit different. Instead of being able to choose from a dozen different countries, Seychelles companies are limited to only a handful of options for banking. Of course, the country isn't the only thing that matters. Individual banks obviously take into consideration the business activities, transaction activity, and volume, and the people involved in the company too. And if you have strong banking relationships already, you might be able to overcome the shortcomings of having a company registered in a high-risk jurisdiction like the Seychelles. But even this can be tough. Let's start by taking a look at some of the benefits that a Seychelles company formation with a bank account can offer. Then we'll look at the issues and a few of the possible alternatives. Here are some of the benefits of a Seychelles company formation with a bank account. Despite the poor reputation and the stereotypes, there are some benefits and particular reasons why someone might choose to set up a Seychelles offshore company. But buyer beware, if you need a bank account for this company, you might struggle to open accounts. But more on that in a moment. If you're incorporating an offshore company in the Seychelles, it's probably because you're looking for some very specific benefits. These benefits often include a combination of the following: low-cost setup, privacy, no public registry, zero taxes on foreign-sourced income, asset protection, no reporting requirements, and no audit requirements. Depending on which of the above benefits you're after, a Seychelles company could meet your objectives. However, it's important to note that what you actually do with the company matters as well. For example, if you plan on using it for an operational business, sending and receiving international wires, or dealing with clients and suppliers from outside the region, maybe the Seychelles isn't the best choice. Likewise, where you operate the company from matters a lot. Just because the country of registration, in this case the Seychelles, doesn't expect your offshore company to pay taxes, you might still have a tax liability. For example, it's possible that the country where your business actually operates from will expect your Seychelles company to pay tax. So it's extremely important to look at CFC rules, permanent establishment, and your tax residency to see if you're creating a tax liability for yourself. It's a common mistake that many location-independent entrepreneurs and digital nomads overlook, so it's worth examining closely. And, as always, make sure to do your homework and speak with a qualified advisor before investing in a new corporate structure that could have tax implications. A bit of homework up front can save you a lot of headaches later on. Now, let's get into some of the challenges with the Seychelles company formation with a bank account. It's important to understand the challenges related to Seychelles companies. But in reality, there isn't anything wrong with the companies. The fundamental problem is that the jurisdiction itself is high risk, doesn't have a good reputation, and is therefore poorly perceived by the rest of the world and international banking community. With this in mind, let's take a look at the issues related to the Seychelles and how this could impact you if you set up a company here. First, offshore jurisdiction. In a recent article, we discussed the Seychelles offshore banking, so we won't go into the particulars too much in this video. Just know that the Seychelles is known for being a cog in the offshore machine and doesn't have a great reputation internationally. In fact, many bankers view the structure and the jurisdiction itself with suspicion. If you want the full story on the Seychelles offshore banking, you can jump to that video in the link below. Next, the poor reputation internationally. Perhaps because of its small size, remote location, its history of political instability, and track record of catering to unsavory characters in the past, the Seychelles never really developed into a respected offshore financial center. Even offshore jurisdictions with spotty histories like Cayman, Bahamas, Bermuda, Mauritius, and BVI command more respect. Next, future account closures. With this in mind, snagging a deal for Seychelles company formation with a bank account actually will have more risks and challenges in the future than opportunities. Even if you purchase a company from a service provider who promises you'll be able to open a bank account after the company is set up, it's entirely possible that the account will be terminated a month after it's opened. That's why it's important to have backup accounts in place before your account is closed. Alternatively, if it's possible, you may want to consider setting up your company in another jurisdiction altogether to increase the number and quality of banking options available to you. We'll take a look at both backup accounts and alternative company jurisdictions now. Some alternatives to incorporating in Seychelles. Now that we've discussed the benefits and challenges related to Seychelles company formation with a bank account, let's discuss some of the alternative options for company setup. Of course, you may have specific reasons for wanting to set up a company in the Seychelles, perhaps due to your citizenship, residency, or a particular tax treaty. But in most cases, those same benefits can be achieved with a lower risk structure. Forming a company in Seychelles for privacy. Well, if you're considering Seychelles company formation with a bank account for privacy, then one of the following jurisdictions could offer equal or better protection for your personal information. People interested in privacy often look for jurisdictions that do not have public registry for shareholders and directors. Here's a few examples. British Virgin Islands Offshore Company, Marshall Islands Company, Panama Offshore Company, Canadian Limited Partnership, Wyoming Limited Liability Company, Nevada Limited Liability Company, and Delaware Limited Liability Company. Next, forming a company in Seychelles for tax efficiency. If you're considering a Seychelles company formation with a bank account for tax efficiency, one of the following jurisdictions could offer equal or better tax benefits. Of course, this might depend on the country you're from, your tax residency, or the specific tax treaties you're looking to leverage. In all cases, make sure to speak with a qualified advisor before making any final decisions. This list includes the British Virgin Islands, Bahamas, Barbados, Marshall Islands, Ireland, Panama, Singapore, and United Kingdom. Next up, forming a company in Seychelles for asset protection. Now, if you're considering Seychelles company formation with a bank account for asset protection, the following jurisdictions could be worth considering. That said, in most cases, setting up a company with an international bank account will not truly provide asset protection. In most cases, you'll need to set up a trust or foundation and choose a jurisdiction with strong asset protection laws. However, these structures come with their own set of banking challenges. But here are a few jurisdictions that you might consider if you are looking for asset protection. Bahamas Trust, Barbados Trust, Cayman Islands Trust, Cook Islands Trust, Nevis Trust, Liechtenstein Foundation, Jersey Trust, Swiss Trust, Panama Foundation, and South Dakota Trust. Next up, forming a company to invest or do business in the Seychelles. Now, if you're considering Seychelles company formation with a bank account for the purpose of doing business in or investing in or through Seychelles, you may be shocked that there are better jurisdictions for that also. Well, maybe. Ultimately, what's best boils down to the type of business and level of local and international transactions that you plan to have. In other words, if you're only setting up a local business that will only engage with other local businesses or customers, then you might want to consider Seychelles company formation with a bank account locally. However, if you're planning on investing or setting up a business that will be doing business abroad, Seychelles companies might face some challenges. Instead, you might want to consider the specific jurisdictions that you'll be doing business with, see which structures are popular there, determine whether it's worth setting up an entity locally, or consider one of the countries mentioned previously. By using a company in a jurisdiction with a good reputation, you'll increase the number of banking options available to you and be able to acquire more sustainable, higher quality banking relationships for your company in the long run. Next, Seychelles company formation with a backup bank account. If after watching this video you still plan to move forward with a Seychelles company formation with a bank account, then it's paramount that you open up a backup bank account. The reason for this is that most banks don't like Seychelles companies. They're viewed as high risk, so even if you're able to open an account at first, it's very possible that the bank will terminate your account in the near future, even if you and your business have a sparkling reputation. In most cases, even for companies located in stable jurisdictions, we suggest that our premium members have at least 1 or 2 backup bank accounts. After all, having backup accounts is the only way to ensure that your business can continue transacting if your primary account gets shut down or is temporarily frozen. And yes, account closures and freezes are happening more frequently these days. The best example is the constantly changing EU Blacklist. Created by the European Council, the EU Blacklist is a list of all countries that the organization considers non-cooperative jurisdictions for tax purposes. Now, when a country is listed on the EU Blacklist, it's damaging for the domestic economy and anyone who has a company registered there. And the implications are wide-reaching. If you're doing business, banking, or have a company that is registered in an EU Blacklist country, you're impacted. And the way EU countries and banks view companies from non-cooperative jurisdictions is also damaging. Overnight, they have accounts terminated and can become extremely difficult to open accounts until the country is removed from that blacklist. For example, many foreign banks depend on EU correspondent banking relationships in order to send and receive international transfers. This is especially important for offshore jurisdictions who have lost North American correspondent relationships over the last 5 years. That said, it's worth noting that the Seychelles is currently on the EU list of non-cooperative jurisdictions. Yes, this will make account opening more challenging and limit your banking options. Now we arrive at opening bank accounts for a Seychelles company. So, after all that, if you decided that going ahead with a Seychelles company formation with a bank account is the best option available, you'll be pleased to know that despite the challenges, it is still possible to open a bank account. In fact, with the right information, account opening strategies, and knowledge on which specific banks and bankers to contact, you can still open bank accounts in a few stable banking jurisdictions. We cover how you can do this and detail specific account opening strategies in our recent report, How to Open International Bank Accounts for Offshore Companies, which is available on our website, globalbanks.com. So are you still ready to open a bank account for a Seychelles company? Well, if you need help sorting out your banking options, are struggling with account opening, or just don't know where to turn, we can help. Now, whether you are set on opening a bank account for a Seychelles company or just want to explore your options, we can put you on the right path and tell you which banks to consider. All you have to do is join our flagship service, GlobalBanks Insider. With GlobalBanks Insider, you'll get instant access to our entire archive of banking intelligence reports, access to the GlobalBanks database, home to more than 250 banks from 50+ countries, including detailed bank profiles, client preferences, and a whole lot more. Finally, you'll get real-time analyst support from our team of experts, ready to answer your most pressing banking questions and to make suggestions on which banks in the Seychelles and elsewhere will best meet your objectives. To get started, just click the link in the description below to learn more about GlobalBanks Insider. And before signing off, don't forget to hit subscribe so you get alerted every time we share new banking opportunities. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.